A bipartisan bill has been proposed that would overhaul federal regulation of college sports, but will it favor the athletes or the NCAA? That's the question we'll be answering here on The Left Wing. I'm John Cooper from Counterpoint Politics, and today I'm joined by three special guests. First up is returning guest TJ from Powers Taken Not Given. We also have Ethan Taylor, executive producer of the Voidcast podcast, and Rory Myers, aka the Versed Hippie, host of the very same Voidcast podcast. So let's get started. This bill is sponsored by Democrat Joe Manchin and Republican Tommy Tuberville, who are both former college athletes. It's appropriately called the Protecting Athletes, Schools, and Sports Act, or the PASS Act for short. In my opinion, it has a mixture of positive and negative regulations, at least from the perspective of the athletes. On the negative side of things, it would give the NCAA the authority to prohibit certain types of NIL, name, image, and likeness agreements. That's the kind of, sponsorships for athletes outside of, when they're playing their respective sport. And that would be only include things, though, like that involve alcohol or drugs or conflict with existing school or conference licenses. The bill would also make it illegal for states to pass laws that permit college athletes to share revenue with schools and conferences that generate billions from sports such as major college football and basketball. So basically stopping any state-by-state regulations that might come in that would enable athletes to get paid. However, on the positive side of things, the bill would require for your schools and colleges to offer health insurance to athletes who are uninsured, which blew my mind that they don't already have to do that when these athletes are putting their bodies at risk for the school. But apparently they didn't. But now they will have to if this bill passes. And they will have to remain insured for up to 8 years after they graduate. So I thought that was really cool. And they would even have institutions of a certain size would have to pay all out-of-pocket expenses, during that time period. So I do think that's a really cool thing. But gonna pass this to you guys. Do you find this to be an acceptable bill for Congress to pass? Will it be good for athletes and college sports in general? I'll throw it to the SEC country people that we have. Rory and Ethan, what are your thoughts?
What do you got, Rory? Go ahead.
So just like TJ said, I didn't really know anything about the topic until you had shared it. I haven't read a whole lot into it. Just based on the summary, I do kind of like the idea of the athletes being able to hold on to a lot of their name and imaging. I, of course, love the aspect of them being able to negotiate their wages and kind of separate from the college team specifically. It kind of reminds me of a South Park episode when the college athletes wouldn't get paid, so they weren't being exploited, but at the same time not getting paid for something so physically enduring as football also seems exploitative. So it's kind of a give and take situation in that way. But I would definitely be in favor of players being compensated in that way. And like you said, John, it's such a duh that we should be giving them health insurance. Like why are they not being compensated on health insurance for something like football? It makes no sense to me why one of the richest countries and one of the richest athletic organizations in the world is not providing health care for such a physically enduring sport.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, Rory.
Yeah, I feel like there's parts, the NCAA is like a dinosaur of an organization. Like it often takes a while to catch up. And I think like the name, image, and likeness thing, and again, that's only been around for 2-3 years at this point.
2021.
2021, yeah, it's insane. But like that, to me, there was a legitimate debate about like, should the athletes be paid? But the debate over should they be able to profit off their own likeness was insane to me. Because like I remember reading this story about a punter for a college football team who, as part of, he was like a communications major, and as part of his school class, he was supposed to make a YouTube channel and create content. And that YouTube channel kind of took off. And he was from some Caribbean country. And he ended up like using the proceeds from that YouTube channel, send it back home to help feed his family. And the NCAA stepped in. They're like, "Oh, you can't do that. You're profiting off the reputation you've made playing football as a punter." And he literally had to stop playing football because he had to support his family back home through the YouTube channel, which was going to be his career. That was part of his academic. So it completely just went against the entire idea of college sports, in my opinion. Now, I know I'm someone who says the athletes should also be paid. Like, they are generating billions of dollars in revenue, they should be sharing in that. And a college scholarship, I'm sorry, just ain't going to cut it. In most other countries, they don't got to pay for that anyway, whether they're generating billions of dollars or not. TJ, are you also of the same opinion?
Well, yeah, and if I may, I want to take a slight detour and talk about the name of this proposed legislation, the Protecting Athletes, Schools, and Sports Act, and how much I despise sports or forced acronyms. So they did this just so it could say pass, and that I've always hated this, and this is something that the government does all the time. I get why they do it, because you want something catchy and easy to remember, but you could just give it a catchy and easy to remember name, like unofficially, and then have it a boring official name. There's nothing stopping
like
you from doing
Obamacare.
that. I got Obamacare is the example I did think of. Yeah. And the most egregious example of this that came to mind is the Patriot missile. Patriot is actually an acronym. It stands for Phased Array Targeting Radar Phased Array Tracking Radar Interceptive Target. That they really wanted the word Patriot, and they forced it in there. They even gave of its own letter, which they don't usually get. So that's how bad this is. And there's decent examples of this, like laser is also an acronym. It's I can't remember, or light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. That's a great one, but the past one really bothered me. But as far as the actual legislation itself, as the other guys mentioned, I hadn't heard of it, but it is insane that college athletes aren't paid, or at least the ones that generate all this money. The NCAA, I looked up in 2019, the NCAA generated $16 billion in revenue. And now the last couple of years has been a lot lower because of COVID and everything. But the fact that they don't pay the players for all that money is ridiculous. And made even more egregious by the fact that 42 states, the top paid and public employee is a college coach. So millions of dollars are going to the coaches. Players, sorry, you guys can't do that. And I couldn't believe, just like you said, John, I couldn't believe that they couldn't do commercials or stuff like that, or YouTube channels. What does that have to do with the fact that you're playing sports? Now, the provisions of the bill that I did like, the health insurance, yeah, that's great. They should get that for free anyway. I mean, that shouldn't be tied to going to school. And making it a rule that the schools can't pay the athletes, not ideal. But personally, I would like to see a separation between what are essentially semi-professional sports and college. Why? I see the practicality of people wanting to play sports and go to school because, the distance and everything, the travel and stuff. But you're at school to learn. Sports are something totally different, especially when you get to the level of, Division I football and basketball, when it's a business. So that's what I would like to see, just a break from it altogether, because the current system is absurd.
I would actually like to see some of the players from the former years to get back pay. If you're going to pay the current players now, then why not the players that played for you in the previous years and made you tons of money then?
Yeah.
I actually feel like, if you're going to do this, the big objection is, oh, well, it's going to cause people to only go to the biggest schools. Well, they only do that anyway. It's going to interfere with the academic spirit. It's like, what academic spirit?
What academic spirit?
You're talking about Ohio State college football players. I'm sorry, most of them aren't there for the academic experience. I think you have a great point there, TJ, where it's who said it? It was one of the Ohio State quarterbacks, and he was like, I ain't here to play school. It's yeah, no, they're not. And a lot, but that's the other thing. The majority of the athletes kind of are. The majority of the athletes wouldn't be able to
attend the school.
Wouldn't be no some of them, but I'm not talking about the football players, the basketball players here. I'm talking about the I don't know, golf players, or the people at the bottom of the roster, these people who are genuinely, they would be amateurs, whether there was a semi-pro league in replace of college or not, that like they do get an advantage from this. And it actually is fair compensation for them for like a full college ride and everything. There is value in that. I would just like to see, to like kind of sweep all of these problems under the rug, all of those billions the NCAA makes, have a pool. Every athlete gets an equal amount of that money. And it completely, it just completely gets rid of all of the problems that people have a problem with this as, because the athletes are generating the revenue. It wouldn't make football players so much more important than, badminton players. I don't know what college sports are, but like, like, I think that would be a solution that would work for everyone. And I'm surprised that more people don't discuss that, even on the side who are against paying the athletes.
I know you.
Oh, go ahead,
sorry.
No, please do.
All right. I know you've heard the saying, you can't please everyone. And that comes into your solution. Unfortunately, with that type of system, when you have one of the worst players on the team making the same amount as a first round draft pick, going to the NFL, there's jealousy that arises there, and people that start to get pissed off and want to change the rules and change how the game goes. So it sounds simple. It sounds like a fix all, but even then, you still got people that are unsatisfied with the program. And
I mean, now they're getting paid the same amount still, though. They're getting paid
that's what I was saying. Right now, they are getting paid the same amount. So like nothing would really change in that aspect.
I got you.
But I mean, and if you could get, more detailed in it, you could like select the pool to, okay, the football players are the ones who are generating all the money. So they're the ones who are getting paid. Like you could break it down by sport, however much money your sport pays, then you could get paid. Now of course it's complex. There's no easy solution to this problem, but that's how pay scales work. Like everyone else that generates revenue has to figure this out. The NCAA can. They certainly figure out a way to pay their coaches. It really bothers me. I was reading an article about this. Tommy Tuberville, who I may add, the dumbest member of Congress, and that is really saying something. I mean, that bar is incredibly low. But he said that this is important to level the playing field and to maintain the integrity of college sports. Get the fuck out of here. Maintain the integrity of the sport. It's a business that happens to be associated with the school. Let's stop pretending that it isn't.
Solid, short, sweet one, I think there.
Yeah.
I
liked your lead in there, TJ. Kind of the acronyms are kind of like Doofenshmirtz from Phineas and Ferb.
See, I never watched Phineas and Ferb.
Oh,
that's a cultural blind spot for me. I never watched it. I know their faces, like their heads look like letters, like P and F. And I thought that was funny, but I've actually never seen the show. So
TJ, how old are you?
40.
Holy shit. I thought you were so much younger than that.
Yeah. I'm a Highlander, actually.
There can be only one.
I'm 40, but I stopped aging like 10 years ago. So it's like
oh yeah.
Jesus. Wow. Okay. Well, I was like, how the hell did you miss Phineas and Ferb? What are you? I thought you were like my age. Like I thought you were like at most like 32,
right?
Not 40.
What, did you grow up Mormon or something? How do you miss that one?
I don't know if I ever got an answer out of you guys. Did you agree with me on that former players should get paid if they're paying the current players?
I don't have a problem with that. I don't. It would make it a lot more difficult, but fuck them. Who cares? Like it's I don't. And
it's only
it would
right
have to,
though.
Say what?
I mean, it's only right. They set the pace.
It's my primary. I think my 50-meter target would be to get the people who are in there now. And the people in the past, I would make that like a secondary target. Like I wouldn't sacrifice everything if it's like we have to pay everyone or we start paying the ones now. That's what I would say.
It's also tough too, just because like the amounts have changed so much
Yeah.
since even
Yeah,
like
you'd have
20
to
years
figure
ago.
out how, yes.
But
Yeah.
what I would agree wholeheartedly on, and would be very easy, is anyone who had an injury, which can be traced back to college sports, they should be getting their fucking healthcare paid still by the college in perpetuity.
I can agree with that.
I think that would be
Ideally,
an
it would
easy
be.
one.
Yeah, ideally it wouldn't be with the college. Like it should just
Yeah.
be free, like everywhere else anyway. So
I would even add emphasis to like publicly subsidized universities, because a lot of these colleges that do the sports are like state universities, which means that they should be being subsidized by the state for destroying their bodies in such an aggressive sport.
Yeah, you would think, but no, because
Are you wearing
then
your-
rich people would be a little less rich, Rory, and we couldn't have that.
Oh, silly me.